the boy. You know, Zack Snyder is one of few directors who actually sell DLC for their fucking movie, right? So he'll have the PG rated movie, for the people where God forbid they see a side boob or cleavage, because then they'll just start having a fucking aneurysm in the goddamn movie seat. And I guess to sell it to China or whatever. But then he has the R rated version of a movie that he sells separately for like full retail fucking price. And for some reason, there is a fan base that sucks Snyder's cock. Like they genuinely believe he's the second coming of Jesus Christ as far as movies are concerned. And, Snyder has just some of the dumbest opinions that anyone has ever heard. Like, one of them was, oh, Batman's a bad villain because he's just a human. And it's like, well, look, dumbass. The point is you don't always need superpowers to be a superhero. You just need the will to protect people and to do good. There's a message there, right? Even if you don't have the world-ending superpowers of Superman, right? That doesn't mean you just cannot be a hero. It's like fucking Dragon Ball Z power leveling bullshit. But now Zack Snyder defends the death of, I think Pa Kent was Clark Kent's father in Man of Steel, which caused controversy because again he's doing this thing where he's following this culture of just saying the thing that sparks the most outrage. And that's my dog in the background. She does this every time I start recording. Now she probably needs to go out. Like, he does this thing where he just says the dumbest shit, and there are people who will just run to his defense. It's like they literally cannot fucking help themselves. So, Zack Snyder, director of 2013's Man of Steel, has defended the film's Pa Kent's death scene upon Man of Steel's release. The film caused much controversy that upcoming DC movies, like 2025 Superman, will hope to avoid. Despite Man of Steel overall being one of the better ranked DCEU movies, several specific elements of the films were devised. One moment including Superman's murder of Zod in Man of Steel, while another involved Kevin Costner's Jonathan Kent. The death of Jonathan was one of the film's more controversial scenes, primarily due to the fact that Clark Kent could easily have saved it. Yeah, dude, I remember that. Like, man, he didn't have to reveal his powers. Like, I remember Clark Kent just could have just ran over, picked him up, carried him like a normal fucking human being, then brought him back. But in the scene, it's like his dad raises his hand when Clark Kent just wanted to help, and he's like, nah, just let me go. I'm in a Zack Snyder movie. I want to die. And he just gets obliterated. Like, man gets roadblocks right then and there. And a lot of and people's mad because it's like, most people don't really argue logistical consistency, like logic, in movies that are cool, but there's like people are willing to suspend their disbelief. But that scene alone was just like, come on, if you wanted to kill him off, they could have did better. Like they could have did a lot more. Could have had a lot more emotional situation than man just standing there and allowing the storm of fucking Zeus to rip him from this mortal coil. In light of this controversy, director Zack Snyder has defended the Jonathan Kent death scene in an interview with GQ. In Snyder's mind, Clark allowing Jonathan to die made perfect sense. Many who are fans of the film would agree with Zack Snyder's sentiment. Yeah, because there are a fan base of people who will defend his derangement for no reason. It's just a switch that flips in their head. And they're like, must defend goofy director who makes more money than them. Must defend. I they likely agree with the concept a filmmaker was aiming for when filming the scene. Snyder describes the scene from Clark's point of view, stating that controversy is exactly what he says to Lois. The conversation is exactly what he says to Lois. I let my father die to protect the idea that my father was trying to protect. The idea that I wasn't ready to be outed to the world because I wasn't Superman. I'm just a teenager that could have made a mess of it. I have the power to do so, but have I ever used my power in this way? I trusted that his vision for what I could be was bigger than him. This little incident in Kansas was not the thing that was going to expose me to the world. Again, he could have just walked out, picked him up like a normal fucking human being, and moved him to safety. But it's like they wanted the scene, right? They wanted the scene where his dad just had to die just to, keep them from knowing that Clark Kent was Superman. And it just felt very like, it's like when you know something happens because the plot demands it and not because there's any sort of consistency. Again, if it was an emotional scene and, some people can suspend their disbelief, but it was just like something that just didn't need to happen, or at least it didn't need to happen that way. Debate is heated about Jonathan Kent's death since Man of Steel was released in 2013. However, with his comments on the scene, Snyder has perfectly explained why it works within the context of the film. The crux of Superman's story in the movie is the decision to reveal himself to the world. Jonathan Kent believes, arguably rightly, that if humans found out about an alien with superpowers living amongst them, as Snyder explained, that's what Jonathan's point of the world was. The world is going to be afraid of you, and there's a really good chance you're going to become the enemy. Again, people aren't saying, oh, he shouldn't have died at all. People are saying the way Jonathan Kent died was dumb. It was idiotic. I mean, it was emotional the first time you seen it, but again, you have movie theorists tearing it apart, and then people being like, well, yeah, they could have did it differently, but no, they chose this, and obviously Zack Snyder, believing he is the Jesus Christ of directing, is just going to defend it. Based on the story's concept, Clark allowing Jonathan to die certainly makes sense. As Snyder mentioned in an interview, Superman can only reveal his powers in the world when he is ready and when the people of Earth need him to. This moment comes later in the film when Zod attacks, spurring Superman into action and allowing him to become the hero Jonathan Kent believed he could be. Again, and that's fine. That part where he revealed himself was okay. It was just, again, his dad dying the way they did was kind of cheap and kind of, plot demandy. And, people don't really like plot demandy things happening. People like some level of consistency in their even though it's 100% fiction. If you're trying to sell people on the illusion, a level of logical consistency is required. Not too much, right? Because at the end of the day, you're trying to entertain, but just a little bit. However, if he had revealed his power earlier, Earth may have accepted Clark Superman, proving may not have accepted Clark/Superman, proving how effectively Snyder has defended Jonathan Kent's death from Man of Steel. Again, I mean, it was a fine movie. It was just that one scene, and the fact that, again, he has to open his fucking mouth about everything. He has to be that guy to just be, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Someone who, a contrarian. It's like, you know, he could have just shut the hell up, but he didn't want to do that. So anyway, I think Zack Snyder is probably one of the most annoying movie directors. Like, he does the thing where he has to have his 2 cents, and it has to be some of the dumbest fucking things you've ever heard in your life. But anyway, that's all I gotta say. See ya.